Jack Mason knows he's going to die someday, but today he's not in the mood. Welcome to IOB Suffer.
Honestly, that's
That's a
me.
mood,
Like a
yeah.
lot of days.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, it's not today though. I love it.
People at
That's so
work are
stupid.
like, "You talk about wanting to die all the time," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm mad today, so I can't."
Yeah, but I want to
Yeah,
be in control of that.
feel like it.
uh,
Gotta wait for that Demon Souls remake to come out first.
I don't know what that is. It sounds like some nerd shit.
Ah,
It's
what?
over. This podcast is over.
I mean, I know it's a video game, but it's not a video game I'm familiar with.
You should play it. It's really friendly for, new players.
Yeah, Zelda in it.
Yep.
It's got the character from Pong.
Danky
It's
Kang, Danky Kong.
Hubert is the end boss.
Oh shit.
Sanic. All right.
This is episode 93 of IOB Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
I'm Katie.
And this week we watched 1994's Surviving the Game, featuring our boy at Final Level, Ice-T.
A legend.
Never got back to us about being on the pod.
It's fine. He's doing some work right now. We forgive you.
He's busy yelling at people on Twitter.
Yeah, he's been
Important.
fire recently, so contrary to his name, he's been fire.
So I saw this movie in the theater when it came out, when I was definitely probably too young to have seen it.
Wow.
I guess I would have been 12, so maybe not. But that was like the last time I saw it. I remember seeing it in the theater and like liking it, but not like loving it. Just being sort of like ambivalent, being like, "Oh, that was fine." No, I'm obviously not enough to get me to rewatch it. I guess I think I sort of forgot it existed until we're trying to find a movie, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Ernest Dickerson directed this." So, but after this rewatch, this movie's fucking awesome. I love it. What do you think about it, Kit?
So I had watched it for the first time like the week before you had suggested it for the podcast
Oh wow.
because I saw Ice-T mention it on Twitter, and I don't think I had any idea it was a movie. And I was like, "Oh hey, this shit's like $4 to buy. Done." I watched it and was like, "Okay, this movie fucking kicks ass. How have I not watched this yet?"
All right, so Katie, for some reason I figured you. Oh, I knew you'd seen it before, but for some reason I figured it was a while ago. Katie, this was new to you. What were your thoughts?
Uh, it was fine. I had never heard of it before. Honestly, even though Dr. Cox is in it. Um, but it was fine. It kind of like bordered on action movie a little bit for me. So like there were a lot of parts that I thought were sort of boring, but it like was pretty good. It held up as like a 90s movie, I feel. And it made me really mad. Pissed me off.
Yeah, I it's very 90s action movie,
Yeah.
but like the cast is fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's everything I want in a movie cast.
Like
Ice-T being hunted by Rutger Hauer and Charles S. Dutton and Gary Busey and
John C.
dude from
McGinley.
Scrubs.
Yeah,
Perfect.
like
I think I tweeted about it. Like Gary Busey is legitimately good in this. I feel like he had that thing in the 90s that like where he was like cast as like a bad guy in a movie and it works. Where now he's just kind of like cast as just like this crazy weirdo guy because he kind of is, but like
yeah.
again, like for the second time he's been on the pod. I guess he's been on it 3 times now, but at least the second time they were just like, Gary Busey improvised all of his dialogue.
I was gonna say, did he feel a kinship to his character in this
I
one?
guess he like came up with the fucking story about fighting the dog.
Oh, there's no
God,
way he made that up. That's 100% like something that happened
real
in his
life.
life.
Well,
I
yeah, that's
believe.
what he was like. He talked about like coming with this story and like asked the director if he could like do that instead of whatever was written. It's like, so that was all, quote unquote ad libbed from him,
All
Oh
due.
yeah.
which is of course the one story in the movie that you're like, please don't make this be a real story.
I know. No, I think you're right. I think this movie, this is probably his best acting in any movie I've seen him in, because he was like, when I picture like weird, like he's not like a military guy in this movie, but when I picture like weird, don't take my guns kind of dude, like this is the kind of guy that I like envision. So
I
he,
think he was in Point Blank too, right?
oh, I don't know.
No, no, Point Break, not Point Blank.
I was like
Yeah,
what?
He was in,
yeah, he's in Point
Yeah,
Break. He's good in
yeah,
Point
he
Break.
is.
yeah, OG Point Break, right?
Predator 2. He was in Black Sheep. I don't remember that.
Lethal Weapon.
Oh shit, Under Siege.
Yeah, that's his finest role, in my opinion.
I just don't think I've seen a lot of movies with him.
You should do that.
He's in like every 90s action movie as probably like a henchman or some shit, like Predator 2, Under Siege, Lethal Weapon,
Oh shit, he
Surviving
was
the
in
Game, Drop
Scrubs
Zone.
as Gary Busey.
Was he in Scrubs?
That's what it says. I don't
He's
remember him in it, but
in The Firm, Bulletproof.
Universal Soldier 2.
Oh shit, he's in a movie called Maneater about I assume a killer tiger. How
oh,
have we not done that movie yet?
a killer tiger, so just like a tiger.
I mean, I don't think tigers are necessarily like.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I did know this. He is Mad Dog from King of the Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I think he does like
Bulletproof.
did a
How would we
good
forget Bulletproof?
Slapshot 2, Breaking the Ice, Succubus, Hell Dash Bent. It looks terrible.
Oh, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Oh
We've
yeah,
forgotten
he's
his most important role, actually.
Bikini Model
Shit.
Academy.
Chet Stedman, Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
We should just do all Gary Busey movies next year.
I
Yeah,
don't,
just the whole year.
I don't know.
All right. So this movie was directed by Ernest Dickerson, who we've previously covered with Shane for Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Another perfect movie.
Yeah.
With Billy Zane's Hellfire Dick. Written by Eric Burnt. Starring Ice-T as Mason, Rutger Hauer as Burns, Charles Dutton as Cole, Gary Busey as Doc, F. Murray Abraham as Wolf Sr., and John C. McGinley as Griffin, who is also great in this movie. The cast is pretty ridiculous. I feel like the only person in it I remember that I was just kind of like, all right, go away, was the son.
Yeah. I'm glad he fell off a branch and died. Spoiler alert.
All right, that's all I got. This saved none of my notes, so I have none of that. So I think Katie's gonna have to take over.
Okay. So it starts with I also like had a really hard time figuring out what anyone's name was. So I don't have a lot of their names, but I'll
Yeah.
try to insert them.
I mean, you got.
S-
I'm sure you got like actor names since most of them are
mm, well,
Hunter Guy 1.
the Wolf Senior and Wolf Junior, I wrote dad and son.
That's fine. They're
And then Gary Busey, obviously. And then Burns. I didn't know Rutger Hauer's name. Okay, so we start with a guy who's like looking through some trash cans, and it's the T. He is oh my gosh, this movie is so sad. So we get like flashes back and forth of like Ice-T sort of like living his life on the street with like men who are hunting in the woods. And they're like chasing someone, and Ice-T has this dog, this adorable dog named Mingo that gets hit by a car. So that's the first thing that happens, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm not gonna."
How did you get the dog's name but no one else's name?
Because Mingo's the sweet angel of this movie.
it's like the fucking fourth or fifth movie I've watched this week where a dog dies. So
We had like a pretty good stretch where there was like, until Pet Sematary too, obviously, where there was like not a lot of animal violence, but you find out that the men, like, obviously I knew what the plot of this movie was because like we already talked about it, but I feel like they like pretty much in the very beginning you find out that these men are like chasing another guy.
yeah,
So I feel like
say,
maybe
I did remember them giving it away like basically in the opening credits.
yeah.
Like, which, like, whatever, like, I had seen it before, and it's, I think if you know what it's based off of, it's pretty, you know what you're going into, but I was like, oh, wow, they, like, gave the plot of this movie away in, like, the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. Ice-T is like a cab driver like gets out and is like yelling at him like, are you gonna pay for the damage to my car? Which I'm like, sir, you just hit his dog. Can you please step back? It made me very mad. This is like the first of many things that made me mad in this movie. And I don't know, I guess he gets in a fight with the cab driver. Some of my notes aren't great. He gets in a fight with the cab driver, and then I think this is the point where you see that someone's like watching him. So then I just wrote T for Ice-T the whole time. So T is digging a hole to bury Mingo in, and his friend Hank is like telling him about sea burials. He's like a old military salt. And then I wrote old man complains about how people don't eat meat anymore, which that's fine. Like so they're going through some garbage. T finds a gun and he's like, "Oh man, I could sell this for $20." And I was like, I see the problem here. If $20 seems very cheap for a handgun. And I think this is when Hank, like this comes back later. I didn't write it down at the time because I didn't think it was important, but it comes back later. So that Hank tells him like pretty casually, like, hey, if you find a gun in the trash, the first thing you have to do is like check the barrel to make sure that it's like not jammed or something like that. And I'm like, okay.
Make sure it's clear.
The first thing I would do is like not touch the gun, but whatever.
Yeah, put gloves on at least first, your fingerprints all over it.
Exactly. Exactly. So then so that obviously they're hungry, they're looking through trash, and then T's like, hey, I know this really cool place we can get food. And so he goes to basically, I guess it's like a meat processing plant, and it's cool because like he's friends with the security dogs. That's how you know that he is a good person, because the dogs like him. And so he jumps in there and steals like a whole like cow basically.
And he's walking away with like one of those giant slabs of meat that like Rocky punches in his practicing montages.
Yeah.
It's like
just like cash.
Which like
fine.
Sure, you're gonna go feed like a shit ton of like homeless people, but that seems very heavy.
I mean, yeah. But so Hank is waiting outside, and then a very, very aggressive security guard comes up and is like pissed, and he's basically just like, he's like a little crazy because he immediately is like, I'm gonna kill somebody, and it's gonna be you or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, he
And
goes
so, like,
very overboard.
he does, over like a piece of meat. Calm down, bro. And he also like punches Hank or something, and Hank is like an old man, so like just calm down, bro. He can't hurt you. But then T comes out and he's like, they're gonna fight. And I wrote a quote. He says, "I'll take the stick, ram it up your ass, and make a popsicle out of your punk ass." But he's like very upset that Hank is hurt, because he's like, all right, one of us is gonna die. And he's just like yelling at the guard, and the guard's like, ugh, and runs away, like you do, because he's, and this again, you see that somebody is like watching all this stuff happen. And then, they go back to their little group of friends, and they grill the meat on what I assume is like a shopping cart or something. But
I want to know how he got that over that fence.
I don't know. Like he dropped it on the. I mean, whatever.
That's the story I want the most dangerous game to be, is him trying to haul that giant slab of meat over the fence.
I think he should have like hit the guard with it. That would like knock you out, man. But it just, really, he shared that meat with like a bunch of people. There's like a dad and a son there. They're like, hey, can we help you? And he gets like triggered, and you're like, oh no, what's going on with him? I don't think you find this out at this point, but basically Hank like gives him a pep talk about how like he can make his own future, and like he doesn't have to be like living on the streets if he doesn't want to be, whatever.
Pull himself up by his bootstraps.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they go and chow down on this huge piece of meat, which I just can't even imagine. Like, whatever.
It's just like I guess that mentality is still around, but I feel like it's very 90s movie of like, you don't have to be out here. Like, you could very easily go do something with your life. And it's like, well, then why are you out here? Like,
yeah, and I can't remember. I feel like they went into Hank's circumstances a little bit, but I don't remember like what it was.
yeah.
But it's also like, Hank is white, obviously. So the fact that he's just like, yeah, it'd be so easy for you to go and like make something of yourself is kind of like that's, I don't know. So the next morning, Ice-T wakes up, and he finds out that Hank has died when he was sleeping, which I was like, I knew as soon as he woke up, I was like, oh God, here we go. Which is sad, because, Hank was his best friend, pretty much.
So he lost his dog and Hank in like 24 hours.
Yeah, and so he buries Hank next to Mingo. It's very sad. So then we meet our first dirtbag, because T is like walking past this group of like mission workers who are like handing out free lunches to like the homeless community there, and
that's what makes it even more like insidious. That like,
I know,
you don't, like, I didn't really even think about till like right now, is that he's like, he works for like a church mission thing, like homeless outreach.
And that's why at first I was sort of like, maybe he doesn't know, and I was like, and if that's the case, like, this makes it so sad. But this motherfucker, he's the worst of all of them, if you ask me.
I don't think I've ever seen or like read another adaptation of like The Most Dangerous Game. Like, it's one of those things, kind of like The Lottery, where it's just like, what it is, so like,
right, yeah.
So like, I don't know. Like, I assume this is like that, that 90s urban kind of gritty update version of it, like, I wonder, I don't know. I don't know if it's just like, because, it's obviously, there's a huge implication in this movie of like a bunch of, well, I guess it's mostly white dudes hunting a black guy, and then they're hunting a homeless guy, and they're all probably pretty well off to do people and all that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like just this movie, or if that's sort of like an actual part of the Most Dangerous Game story.
I don't really remember, like, I read The Most Dangerous Game in school, but it's been, I'm 50, so it's been 30 years. I don't really remember the and I'm sure that when we were in school, that was like not an angle that was taught anyways. Yeah. And that's why I sort of felt like the obviously there's like that overlying like racism issue in this movie, but it's also like the classism, and it just like really, this was like a not a bad time to watch this movie, but it was just like,
Well, I think
oh, it made me so mad.
it's a pretty like it's unfortunately
It's very
coming
topical.
up on like what 20 years, 30 years old, and it's still pretty timely.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's why that was like part of what made me so mad about it. Um, because the guy who's working for the mission is also black. So when he like so basically he's like trying to give lunch to T, and he's like, no, I don't need your help or whatever. And so the guy like literally follows him, and T decides that he's gonna just jump in front of a truck, and the person who's driving the truck like doesn't even slow down at all as he very slowly walks into the street and stops in front of the truck. And I was like, okay.
He's got
Happens all
he's
um
the time.
got to deliver giant slabs of meat. He can't be slowing down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also,
and so
that's
what?
Cole. Cole
Cole,
is
Cole, yeah.
it's Charles Dutton.
Cole, I did write his name. So it's Cole, and he basically saves T from getting hit by the truck, and he's just like, "What's wrong with you?" And like basically this is when you find out that T's wife, and I couldn't tell if he had more than one kid, because like sometimes he says kids, and then when he's telling the story he's like, I had a new baby and my kids died, and I'm like, I don't really know. So his family is dead, and so basically that's why he's just like doesn't care. He's living on the street. And Cole is basically just like, hey, like I want to give you an opportunity, because this is what makes this like so terrible to me, because he literally is like, well, when I was having a hard time, somebody helped me out, and I want to be that for you. And at first you're like, oh man, but then you know where the story's going, so you're like, you are such a piece of shit, because he's like literally just going out there and like recruiting these people to be hunted.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I couldn't remember like rewatching it whether like Cole was one of the hunters or not until like it gets to it. Because at
yeah,
first I
right.
was
So
like, oh, maybe he's just like a I guess not a terrible term for it, but like the headhunter of like the like
right,
the guy searching for people. But yeah, he's
right.
that's what makes it
Like
I
that's
think
what.
even worse with him.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like whenever they finally get to the island and he's there, and I was like, you piece of. Anyways, so his death is like pretty good. I liked it.
Yes.
So yeah, he's basically just like, hey, like if you want a job, like here's a card, and like it's up to you. So basically T finds out that like the job is that he's going to be a survival guide for a hunting group. So he goes to like the office where he meets
Burns.
Burns, and he's basically just like, you don't seem like a guy who hunts or whatever. And I'm like, an old white guy? Like, yeah, that's like who does those crazy, that these are the people that are out there like hunting like
Like
endangered
the
animals and shit.
pay to hunt like a fucking elephant or some shit.
Yeah. Ugh, I hate it. Um, so yeah, he's basically just like, I don't know, you don't seem like it. And then the literally Burns just is like, hey, do you smoke? And he's just like, yeah. And he was like, okay, well, you're fired. I don't want you. And then T's like, no, like I am awesome. I can do this. Like, is that a treadmill? Like, I'll get on there, and if I can run for 20 minutes, like, give me money or something. So he gets on there. I gotta say, I feel like it'd be really hard to like run. He's wearing like huge like work boots or whatever.
Well, yeah, he's in like uh, like a couple layers of clothes to like to stay warm out on the street. Like it's
Yeah.
I would die.
Yeah, there's no way I could run for 20 minutes on a treadmill, but he does it. And so Burns gives him $20, and he's like, all right, like, we're gonna do this. So
Well, he
then,
doesn't even hire him yet. He's just like he gives
oh
him the
yeah,
card and he's just like I'll get in touch with you if we want you.
yeah, and then he's like, I'm gonna go stay in the nicest hotel ever. And it's like a shitty motel, but I can't imagine like the comfort of just like going to a
Yeah.
hotel and being able to like take a bath. Like, I don't know. So I felt so sad like knowing what happened to him, because like he went to the convenience store, he's got his Sandy, he's got his like what I assume was like whiskey or something, and he just is like chilling in his bath, and I was like, wow, what a life.
Cutting his dreads.
Oh yeah, he trims his dreads. We also see at this point that he's got like burns down his back, and we're like, oh, weird. Um, so then the next morning, Burns comes to the hotel with some clothes and some money, and I think he said something like, "I'll give you $200 now, and then he's gonna pay him the rest later or something." And like, you're hired. Um,
It seems like not a lot of money to be a survival guide.
I feel like I guess not, but maybe in the 90s it was
It,
like,
it's definitely not a lot for being hunted.
oh no, well, no. Especially when we find out like the amount that people are paying to go on this hunt.
Yeah.
But um so they basically all I wrote was they drive and fly to Hell's Canyon and talk about life. So I don't really remember what any of the things they talked about. I feel like it was probably like philosophy, which fun fact, Hell's Canyon, Oregon is a real place and it's
Huh.
beautiful. Yeah. Um so they arrive out on at the cabin that they're going to be staying at, and then this is where you get introduced to the rest of the hunters. That's where you find out that Cole is there, and I'm like, oh, you. Then I just wrote Gary Busey says some weird shit, and they have dinner.
This dinner scene is extremely uncomfortable, but pretty awesome
Yeah.
from just like a character acting
Oh,
standpoint.
and they brought a pig named Frank with them that they unfortunately eat, and I was sad.
I think this
And they
is
make Ice-T stare into his eyes
yeah.
because he
Oh,
eats
it's
him.
so
It's
gross.
all like really uncomfortable because like you know where it's going, but
Yeah, and like the thing about this dinner too is that it's like this group of men who are just all stupid, dumbass, pretentious, like dudes that are just like one of them, it might have been Burns, was like talking about how you need to eat a piece of food, and it's like look at your food intently and
oh yeah,
visualize blah blah blah, and he goes on and on. He's like, and then when you're ready to fully enjoy it, put it in your, and I was just like, shut the fuck. And it's so funny because they're all just like talking about just like this really stupid dumb shit, and Ice-T the entire time is just like, what in the fuck is going on? These people are fucking crazy. It's pretty
yeah.
funny.
Ice-T says like he's like I don't know the next time I'm gonna eat, so I'm just cramming all of this in as fast as possible. And then Gary
Yeah.
Busey tells a fucking story about being a kid where he had to like his dad like would force him to throw firecrackers at this puppy they got to
Oh,
train it to
oh.
like I don't know be on edge I guess. And then when he turns like I don't know 15 or whatever age he says, he forces Gary Busey to fight the dog by throwing firecrackers at it, and that's how he got this scar on his face, and he had to like break its neck. It's all fucked up, and it's the story Gary Busey was like, I have this story I think I want to use for my character. I just made
Yeah.
up,
Holy
aka
crap.
lived in real life. And then at some point, this is where you get like John C. McGinley's character of Griffin, like being extra crazy.
Wow, he really
Glaring.
just goes from like 0 to 1,000. And like I don't really, so they I think they ask him like if he's ever killed anything before, like, you know,
Yeah.
like we're still under the guise that this is just like a hunting trip. And he asked him if he killed anything, and Ice-T for some reason is like, yeah, my wife and kids, which like first of all, like you didn't really, bro, like calm down.
Well,
But
they're kind of like egging him on about just like his life, and I think he just gets
right,
frustrated, and he's just like, yeah, I killed my wife and kids, and John C. McGinley just fucking
freaks the fuck
loses
out.
it, and you find out
Yeah.
like you eventually find out that like his daughter was I guess raped and killed by a homeless man. So like he's just fucking ready to murder Ice-T like already.
Yeah, and I think like they eventually like push him out of the cabin because he's freaking out, and then this is where, like, if you don't know anything, well, you already saw them hunt a guy, but this is where the red flags are, because he's just like, tomorrow, like, you're fucking mine, I'm gonna kill you or something, and I was just like, wow.
He basically like flat out tells them what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so this whole dinner scene is just very strange. And so then, we also have dad and son, the wolves. Um, I'm sure that there was some kind of like thing that they said, but I don't know. So that's the group.
I think all you really get from them up until the hunt and even kind of into it is just like the son's like reluctance to be there.
Yeah, he doesn't really want to
I
do
feel
it,
like
but
I don't remember correctly, but like I feel like he maybe like didn't fully know what they were going to be doing.
I don't think so. Because, like, okay, so basically they have this like huge dinner, and then the next morning, like, Ice-T is sleeping, and they just like barge in there with guns, and they're like, get up, get up, get up, you need to go now. Like, basically, this is where they basically tell him, like, hey, we're gonna have lunch, or we're gonna have breakfast, and we're gonna give you a head start, and then we're gonna come kill you. And he's just like, what the fuck? uh and
Yeah, it's fucked up because they also like they're like agitating, like making fun of him the whole time, and like
yeah,
just fucking with him, and it's like real unsettling.
like, I can't even imagine. But basically they tell him like he's gonna get a head start, they're gonna eat breakfast. If he makes it to civilization, then he survives, basically. Yeah, this is when I wrote, son is like, this is fucked up, and the dad is a dick to him, and basically is like, don't embarrass me in front of my friends, and I paid $50,000 for you to like hunt this guy, and you're gonna become a man. Which, like, no, you're gonna become a murderer, but that's fine. Um, so yeah, so he I don't know. I don't know how I feel about his character, because on one hand he is sort of like, well, I don't really want to murder this dude, but on the other hand he does totally just like kind of go with it. But if I were him, I would have ran away. But anyways,
He just shot
so
everybody.
yeah, or if you might as well. You already yeah. So basically Ice-T goes like running off. And all of the guys are like eating breakfast, and I think it's Dr. Cox is still sort of like freaking out about like wanting to leave, and they're like, okay, so finally they set all on motorbikes and four-wheelers. They This scene was like sort of weird to me, because it's like they're going through the woods basically on like their motorbikes and stuff, and one of them says piss on a fire and call the dogs, and I was like, I don't know what is going on. But Dr. Cox, I wrote Dr. Cox is tripping, so I think he like was saying that he saw Ice-T, and they're like, no, you did it. He's like, yeah, he's over here, follow me. And they're like, well, why don't you show us? And it just was like a bunch of really weird back and forth that I was like, all right. And so T's really smart, because instead of just like running out into the wilderness with nothing, because they don't even give him like a weapon, right? Or did he steal? No. So he goes back to the cabin basically after they have left to get guns, which, like, that's just amazing.
Yeah, I think they
Unique,
say like
wonderful.
the first time.
Anyone's done that, yeah.
And I think this is when he finds like all of the heads and jars.
Oh my
the
God, yeah.
Futurama room.
Yeah. Well, like, somehow, I don't even know, somehow like the group realizes that he went back to the cabin, and I missed how they knew that, because then they just like turn around.
I think they like it's just based on like hunting and like tracking shit, like because like it seems like Wolf and Griffin are just kind of just out there being crazy, and then like Cole and Burns are the only two that are like kind of on to what Mason's doing.
Yeah, or like they know how to track or something. Yeah, so I wrote, oh my God, a room full of heads and jars. That was pretty gross. And then he also sees that there's an empty jar with like a nameplate on it for him.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no. So then he sets the cabin on fire,
Yes.
Smart.
which is pretty smart. I also wrote like he should have stolen a car, but then I realized they arrived by helicopter, so that was a dumb
Well, yeah,
thing.
pretty much
He,
the
But
entire time until he does, I'm just like, why don't you just steal like one of the RVs and just fucking haul ass out of here?
yeah, like yeah, I don't know.
But then
he could have
also,
Um,
stolen some heads. And he could use the heads to throw at him.
that's what I was thinking. I would have thrown a whole jar, like a jar of the head at somebody.
Yeah.
gross. Yeah, I mean, well,
But I don't know. Setting their trophies on fire is a pretty smart plan.
yeah. They are pissed. Basically, they show up and they're pissed. Some of them like, oh, okay, so he like spreads all of the gasoline. They show up, some of them come inside, and then he lights it on fire because they're like, oh, what's that smell? And Dad, Wolf, is stuck upstairs, and the place is on fire. Derek goes in and save him. Meanwhile, at the back of the cabin, Gary Busey is like attacking T, and they fight. Um, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, they just fight, and then eventually it just leads to, I think Gary Busey gets like thrown into the burning
Inside,
place. Yeah,
and it explodes, so he's dead. One down.
and then
Damn.
there's like a whole thing of like Wolf Senior being like trapped in the house while it's on fire, like the son coming in to save him.
Yeah. But then after that, they basically, T runs away, and they basically are just like harass the son because they think that they saw like what way he went, and like this is the point where he should have been like, oh yeah, I saw him go that way, and like pointed him the opposite way, but he didn't. So, you know, there's a lesson here. Just, So, um, I don't know. I wrote T encounters a wolf and a river and jumps in because the men catch up.
Oh yeah, he gets like kind of trapped to like one of the like a big cliff with like water at the bottom, and he just like jumps in as Griffin is gonna try and take a shot, and Wolf takes it before him, and then they fight about that.
And then you find out that is Dr. Cox Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he basically like has an asthma attack because he's like so pissed off that he didn't get to like get him or whatever, and he's like yelling at everybody, and everyone's just like, wow, can you just like calm the fuck down? Then I guess at some point they start tracking him again, and I wrote he tricks them by a tree smoking.
Yeah, they during the dinner scene, he asks for a cigarette, and Doc gives him like a full pack of cigarettes. He's like, I just want one, and he's like, just take the whole thing. And like he lights a bunch of them and puts them in a tree, but like they, as like the hunters are out like looking for him, they smell the cigarettes. They're like, this dumbass is actually out here smoking a cigarette, and they all think it's like hilarious until they like
Oh yeah,
realize what it was.
his cigarettes that are dry, even though he was just like going down a waterfall and shit.
I think they like
That's
that's one of the goofs on IMDb, or like the
Oh, is it?
continuity issues.
Maybe he
Um,
dove in with those in his hand, and he had his hand above the water, keep him dry.
I'm sure. Maybe yeah. He okay, so I don't know what happened up until that. I kind of stopped paying attention, I guess, because this I just have where Ice-T finds Griffin in a cave. Or like I don't know how they got there.
So he like, I think right before he uses the cigarettes, he like sees that cave, and I don't remember how he gets Griffin, but he does. Or like maybe Griffin goes off on his own and he just like gets trapped by him, but yeah, he's got like Griffin kind of like held captive in the cave. But like it's also like it's now hitting like nighttime, and I think Burns and Cole are like talking or something, and they're just like, well, how are we gonna find him in the morning? And he's like, oh, I already know where he's at. And you see like they could see like the light coming from the cave, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, this is when you get like Griffin kind of like he's like tied up or whatever, and he's like, you can keep me here, it doesn't matter, but we're the like the rest are gonna find you, we're gonna kill you. And he's just like, you're just like a worthless piece of trash, whatever,
Yeah.
just being like a shithead. And like, this is when he tells the story at some point of like what happened to his daughter.
And then he's like, the reason that he's like so mad is because they never caught who did it. And he was like, and it could be you because you're a murderer. And he's just like, shut the fuck up, man. Because you finally get the real story about like what happened with Ice-T's family, which like 100% was like not really his fault, but
yeah, like it was just something like he didn't deal with like the fire alarms in his house or whatever. And
yeah,
like,
he's basically like they hired him. He was like living in like this really shitty like apartment building that he was able to live there with his family for free because he was supposed to be like the maintenance worker, but he was also working a job as like being a mechanic. And so he was basically just like, I'm too tired to fix whatever this issue is. And then like the building burnt down.
Yeah.
And his family was inside, which like I can see why it's upsetting, but like it wasn't your fault, man.
You also, this is like when you like he could eat like Griffin keeps having like asthma attacks from just being like pissed and like yelling at Mason, and like Mason keeps like letting him use his inhaler and stuff, where he's like, which like comes back in like a couple scenes, but it just shows that like Mason isn't like, even though these dudes are like, trying to hunt him, he's not necessarily like, I'm gonna murder these people instead. He's just like, he's still like a like a decent person.
Yeah, he's just trying to survive the game, man.
Yeah.
So basically, the next morning, I guess, the group of men come in and untie Griffin, and he's basically just like, hey, like, he could have killed me and he didn't, so, like, I think we should let him go. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. We're gonna still hunt him. And he's like, well, you can still go after him, but I'm not. I'm going home now. Like, he basically has, like, a new lease on life because of Ice-T's, like, compassion towards him, I guess, essentially. And so this made me really mad because Cole is just like, you're not leaving, and just shoots him in the head, and he's dead. And I was like, wow, it's fucked up. The two wolves are like freaking out, and the son is just like, hey, did you see that? This isn't right. This is bad. This is real bad. And this made me really mad too, because one of them says something about like, hey, I don't know if it was the son, maybe, but one of them says something like, oh, we're not supposed to be killing people who count in the real world. And I was like, wow, fuck you, man. That's fucked up.
I feel like Wolf Sr. says like a bunch of fucked up like classist shit in here.
Yeah, 100%. And so they're all like sitting there arguing about what just happened, but Ice-T's there and he shoots at them. And then, they give chase. And finally, he's able to steal a four-wheeler, but he crashes.
Oh,
I guess.
Is this when he like goes running into like the river and they like follow, but he hides in like the tree stump?
I don't know. I literally wrote, he steals a four-wheeler but crashes. Cole gets on his.
Yeah, so he like they give like he's they're giving chase to him or whatever, and they follow his tracks to like into the water, and like I think Cole's just like, he doesn't think we'll follow him into the water, so they go like walking through this river, and they go walking past this tree stump where like Mason comes like crawling out of after they go past, and he goes back to like their ATVs and shit, and like puts like the starter into like the gas tank of one of them, which I don't know how that works. Yeah. But
I don't know.
Like as they're coming back, like he goes taking off on one of them, and I think Burns starts firing at him and shoots like the tire out, and he like crashes, and like Cole goes to start his and it explodes, And you
Yeah.
get like the fucking Vietnam movie Death of Cole as he's just like laying there with his like legs blowed off
Yeah.
and
It was pretty good. Because then Burns just like strangles him. And
yeah.
I was like, well, that's what you get.
I think like Wolf Jr. is like freaking out again. Like he's just like, this is fucked up. Like 2 of them are now dead. Like why are we doing this?
Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty good scene. So then they like chase him again, and this is where we get to the tree. Like, did he push the? I don't know. This like whole scene, I just like wasn't paying attention, I guess. So he pushed.
He comes across like this huge like cliff, and he has like he steals one of their like guns. He's got like that like high powered fucking gun, and he basically uses all of his bullets to shoot this tree down.
The tree down. Okay.
And then like so like when like the hunters come across it, they think he like knocked this tree down to climb across, so they start climbing across it, and he's like on the other side, and I think Burns goes all the way across, and then like the sun gets halfway across and he starts throwing rocks at Burns.
Yeah.
And they're just like
That shit rules.
they're just like, oh shit, like he's not across. And like I forget if he like what happens. I can't remember if he hits the kid or if the kid just like freaks out and loses his balance and falls off and falls down the cliff. And Wolf Seniors is like, "Oh no, my son! How am I gonna explain this to my wife?"
Right. Yeah. And I think Burns actually shoots like Ice-T, actually gets him, and then he like falls down a cliff, but catches himself on a tree that's like jutting out of it, which, whew, listen, I would not have the energy to grab onto that.
I
and
wouldn't be
he's
able to do
just-
any of this.
No. So Burns and the dad are like arguing, and also obviously he's like, "Hey, my son's dead. That's not cool. Like, whatever." And they're like arguing about getting him, and then he's just like, "Okay, well, let's just hide." So they hide in like underbrush until nightfall. But then the dad, I guess, thinks that he sees him everywhere, and so he's like starts tripping and just like shoots into nothingness. This is where I wrote like this would have been cool if it turned into like a Bigfoot movie.
That's what it would be if it was
That's
made
nice.
now. It would have just been like tied into some shit like that.
Right.
Just abominable surviving the game.
Just like shows up. Yeah. He's like, we're bros, we go way back. So basically the dad runs out of bullets because he's just like freaking out and shooting at everything. And then T comes up and punches him, and they fight, and Burns is just like watching them from the, I don't know, just like from his hiding place.
Because Burns is just like, this is what we're gonna do. Like, we're going to like lay in wait. He's gonna come looking for us. So like when he does, we can just like ambush him or like whatever. You know, he's like, instead of us being the hunters, let him come hunt for us. Because like he's gonna come try and find us. And Wolf Senior's just like, all right, good plan. And then as soon as like they get in place, he's like, fuck this, my son's dead.
Immediately just yeah, my son's dead. And so eventually Ice-T just kills him.
Yeah, they have like
And-
a long fist fight in the dark that you can't see a whole lot of.
Can't really see, yeah. And then Burns
But
is like,
there,
oh shit.
there is the like cool scene of like shit running in like a circle around him where it's like a wolf and then like sort of a person's body and shit, and Wolf Senior keeps just like firing like randomly into the dark until he's like out of bullets, and at some point he like turns around, it's just like Ice-T with like mud and shit all over his face standing behind him that you like really can only see his eyes.
Yeah, that's why I was like, man, if he was what if he like what if he was like Bigfoot, but it was like a werewolf kind of thing? So like he just sometimes turned into a Bigfoot.
Can we talk about
Big wolf.
so like how I meant to mention it earlier, but how terrible his fake dreads look.
I like in the very beginning when he was like cutting them off, I was like, oh, good.
Yeah.
And then, but he didn't. He just really cut them short, and I was like, oh.
Like what?
He-
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he has so much forehead
yeah.
in this movie.
I was gonna say like
It's like Predator. like
What
where it's
Yeah.
all forehead and then the dreads at the back,
whatever
like
like
Maybe
skull.
that's what they were going for.
whatever cap they put on him, like just extends his forehead by a good like inch and a half. It looks so weird, especially at the
It's-
beginning.
It's
Yeah.
rough. It's a rough look.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright, anyway.
So Burns sees that Wolf is dead, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm the last one. Like, I'm gonna bounce. I can't do this." Well, he's got a plan, I guess. But at first, you just see him riding away, on his little scooter, and his little
His
Scooty
little
Puff
Vespa.
Jr.
Scooty Puff Jr.
And and basically like he gets on a plane. He like starts this plane, and Ice-T chases him, and like comes up to the plane and is like, "Man," because Burns isn't actually there, and then the plane explodes, and
Oh no,
then
so he gets to the plane and like kind of like he looks in and he's like, no one's in here, and he kind of like puts together real quick like, oh, this is a trap. And as he goes to run away, Burns shoots the gas tank of the plane so it explodes.
okay.
And then like gets a, like the other plane that's there,
He's just on another plane. It's fine.
because like they
Yeah, so
arrived in
like
two
why
groups.
didn't you just steal a plane to begin with? Is what I would have done. But but yeah, plane takes off. And you don't really think that Ice-T actually died. I think I
Well,
don't know.
they play it like you're supposed to, but then you see him like moving in the debris and like gets up and shit.
Yeah. So like maybe they should have left that part out too. But so then we skip to 3 days later. We're back in Seattle.
With
And
the shot of, I think, Philadelphia.
oh, was it?
Yeah, something like that. It's like not at all Seattle.
Wow. Love it. Burns is in his office, sort of like getting his shit together, and you hear a call on his answering machine that is from the wolf's wife, and she's basically just like, I'm worried because I can't get a hold of my son or my husband. Concerning, please call me. And he's just fleeing, I guess. Because yeah, nobody else made it back, so obviously they're gonna know something went wrong.
Yeah, he's like
Um,
like putting on.
he's got like a bunch of passports, like different passports and stuff too.
Yeah, he's like basically
Putting
like
on eyebrows.
sort of doctoring his face a little bit. It's like the cheap extent of like some shit where somebody would get like plastic surgery to like start a new life or whatever.
But instead, he just like puts on new
Dyes
eyebrows.
his eyebrows in like a Russian priest outfit, and he's fine.
Yeah, and I was like, what is he doing? So he comes out. He gets in his car, but his car won't start. This is where I wrote, "What the fuck is he wearing?" And he's like, "Okay, well that's fine." And so he goes walking down an alley, and he bumps into a homeless lady who mistakes him for a father. And she like asks him for money, and he's just like, "I'm a piece of shit." And then Ice-T basically like hunts him essentially like down these alleys, and they fight, and they're like fighting, and then
I really wish this would have been like a longer scene of like him hunting him and kind of like his quote unquote like jungle or whatever.
it's just, yeah, I think so, because it's really just like, I mean, it's over pretty fast, and I guess maybe that's the point. It was like this dude, like all he had was his weapons or whatever. I don't know. So basically, he like knocks him over, and Burns is just like, "Yeah, do it, finish the game." But instead, he just walks away,
Yeah, he
and
like
Burns.
takes his gun and like dismantles it and like throws it on the ground.
Yeah, and he's just like, "See ya." So then Burns is, of course, like the piece of shit he is, decides that he's just gonna like shoot T in the back. So he picks up the gun, and the gun explodes. And then Ice-T says, "Always check the barrel." And then
So
it's the
goofy.
end.
Credits.
Yeah.
And you get like the
Um,
fucking like zoom in like 3D shot of like the inside the gun that's just like jammed with like trash or some shit.
oh, that's right, yeah. Um, and that's surviving the game.
This movie rules.
Yeah, it
It,
wasn't bad. I just, like I said, I don't know.
Desperately needs a like Shout Factory Blu-ray release. 'Cause so far, there's just like some crappy DVD release that's ever been released of it. I'm being bit by a cat.
Well, aw, fight the power.
Yeah. Um. All right. Do you have any news, Katie?
I have a lot of news. We haven't done news in like 3 weeks.
No. News is terrible.
Um,
yeah, news is stupid. Who needs it? I want olds.
it's not real
Olds.
news. It's
You got any olds?
well, at this point, it is all olds. So, let's see. Let's see what I wrote. So before I had talked about how they were rebooting Unsolved Mysteries, and we were like sort of talking about like who we thought who would make a good host. Well, turns out they think that the best host is no host. There's not going to be a host. I don't really know how that works,
I
but
assume it'll
basically,
just be like a voiceover person, but like not on camera.
I don't know. But the way that they're doing it is that each episode is going to be directed by a different director, so that's kind of cool. It's been a while since I read the article, but there were a couple directors that I was like, okay, like this will be pretty cool. So, July 1st, the first 6 episodes are going to air on Boo Netflix, and it's going to be 12 episode season. So, um, the other thing that I had is I don't know how to say his name. David Cope. He was the director of like Stir of Echoes, Secret Window, Spider-Man, all of those. Is directing a new movie with Kevin Bacon called You Should Have Left, which the day that I wrote this notes was for the day that the trailer came out. So looks kind of interesting, and I like Stir of Echoes a lot. I think it's like really underrated, and also I like Secret Window. So it's kind of looks like a haunted house kind of thing where like him and his family are like going out to stay at this rental, and there's like maybe a secret room or
Window.
something. Uh, and connected to that, we were talking about the revamping of all the Universal monster stuff. So he's also a writer, and I guess he has written the script for the new Bride of Frankenstein movie, and to go along with Invisible Man, Wolfman, or whatever. And apparently they're calling this the Dark Universe. So
Yeah, that's what they were calling it. That like with Tom Cruise
um,
mummy that didn't work.
ugh. Um, I don't know if this is still true, but at the time they had the video on demand release for You Should Have Left as being the 19th. So I don't know. This has kind of made the rounds, but at the time they had just also dropped the trailer for Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
Oh yeah.
Which we all did talk about a little bit. The thing I think is, or quote unquote, what they're calling it, the Japanese Evil Dead. And you can watch a trailer, and you should watch a trailer because it is insane. It looks crazy. And the thing that I think is so crazy about it is it's another one of those. They started filming it, I guess, in 1995, and the movie is just now finished. So I can't imagine what we're in for. But there's a trailer you can watch. And as far as I saw, there's no actual release date for it, but maybe we should keep an eye out for
Yeah, I
that.
think I had looked when
Hopefully
it
soon.
first dropped about like a pre-order because I was gonna pre-order it, but I hadn't seen anything yet.
Yeah. Also, in a previous episode, I had talked about Grady Hendrix's works, and one of them I had talked about was Horror Store, and I just saw that they are optioning um, a movie for that, and so that'll be interesting, maybe. Shudder started developing season 3 of Creep Show,
Oh, they're
which,
already doing 3.
yeah. I think it's just like in development,
Yeah.
so there's not really a lot of headway on that. And then the last one is that they released a trailer for Train to Busan Presents Peninsula, which I think originally was supposed to come out this year, and then, because of Corona, we thought maybe not, but turns out maybe it is. So, those are my newses.
They also released, somebody posted pictures of a script for Alien 5,
I saw
which,
that,
ooh.
but like, wasn't it sci-fi?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. All I saw was that it's going to continue after Alien Resurrection, and I was like, come on, nobody needs this.
Yeah.
Alien Re-Resurrection.
Just let fucking Ridley Scott finish up what he was doing with like the Prometheus
Please.
and Covenant shit. Like, we don't need to go back to Ripley, and because they're just like, this is gonna be like Ripley's swan song, and I'm like, you've said that twice. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't need continuations of that story. I want to see where like the Prometheus storyline was going. And Ridley Scott's like 107. Just let him finish his shit before he dies. Then, fucking
Right? Like,
do whatever after that.
well,
All right. Do you have your Zach Baggins tweet of the week?
I do. The tweet is, "Them aliens are watching."
God.
True. Big facts.
Uh,
They're out there.
They're out there. They be
all right,
watching.
I'm gonna bury the lead on the Weekly World News article.
Okay.
It began right around the time I started my podcast. The 65-year-old comedian grimaces, "I thought I was just going a little crazy, overworked maybe. I ignored it at first, but I kept having unusual things happen around the house, sometimes even while I was on stage. Orange wedges appearing out of thin air, rocketing towards my body, usually aimed directly at my hindquarters. Mr. Gottfried was accompanied by his wife Dara for this interview and faithful companion podcast co-host Frank Standapadre. I don't know who that is. I thought it was just another wacky, out-of-date joke that Gilbert was trying to pull over on me. Orange wedges on the coffee table when I came back from a short bathroom break. Can you imagine? Gilbert would insist that he had nothing to do with it," Frank laughs. "I believed him. One night I got pelted in the buttocks when I was talking with Gilbert in the front hall near the door. I had my eyes on him the whole time. He couldn't have done it. I called Dara the next day to ask about the unusual occurrence." Headline: Gilbert Gottfried haunted by the ghost of Caesar Romero.
Wow.
Oh, it's so good.
I was like, orange slices?
Mysterious clowns terrify small town.
That was real.
That's a thing that happened.
Apparently Tesla is using drone bodies he has like a helmet for social distancing units, according to Weekly World News.
I assume that's also a real thing that
Yes.
happened.
Right?
All right. Shout outs. You go first, Katie.
I'm gonna shout out Drunken a Graveyard podcast because I just started listening. I'm not watching it. I'm listening to it in my ears.
You might be watching it too.
I could be. Yeah, I just started listening to it. Obviously, they have a lot of material, so I've only listened to a few. But I like it.
Yeah, they are good people over there.
Fact.
Agree.
You got anything, Kit?
Buy the new Vile Creature album. It rules, and they're also good people.
Yeah. Mine are to go with this episode. Go listen to Body Count.
Deal. Done.
Have you guys been watching anything lately? Katie, you still watching Charles Bronson movies?
Thankfully, no. But I did finally watch Knives Out the other night. And I liked it. I think it had some issues for me personally, but I did really like it. I think it's worth watching because it's free on Prime now. So, um, man, not really. We have been watching a lot of other just like action movies. We watched The Irishman, which wow.
It shaves.
It does shave. My other thing I have to say about it is that I had a similar.
I just
I had
like
a.
that no one's ever gonna understand that joke except the three of us.
That's fine. They don't need to. I had a similar reaction to that movie that I did with all of the Death Wishes, where I'm like, by the 12th car blowing up, don't fucking get in your car anymore. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's just like, man, just,
Stop blowing up cars.
yeah, or, if whatever. Oh well. Anyways, so yeah, that was something. And yeah, like I said, was it the executive producer or something is Tara Reid? And I was like, what? All
Is
right.
that real?
I mean, it was like in the credits, so I guess there could be another Tara Reid. Let me see. But I was like, oh, I mean, I guess when you run out of Sharknadoes, like, what are you gonna do? Like
I
direct?
mean, hey, like that's a pretty
A hell of a step up.
easy way to, I don't know, make money, I guess, is to produce shit. Just if she had like a bunch of money from whatever, like when she was actually had like a somewhat decent career.
Wait, this isn't the one I watched. That came. Well, the one that came up is Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, and it wasn't those people. It had
Wait,
Linda
what the hell
Kennigan.
Irishman did you watch?
Is it Get the Irishman?
Oh, you didn't watch like the Scorsese?
No, I didn't. Oh man.
I was like, how can anyone speak negatively of the Irishman? It's so good.
Kill the Irishman.
Okay.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we watched. Might be
That's a
Kill the
very
Irishman.
different film.
Yeah. That one had like Val Kilmer, Christopher Walken, Linda Cardellini, whatever.
Okay.
That's
The
what we
Tara
were.
Reid thing makes way more sense now.
Honestly,
Yeah,
a
so
Christopher Walken movie sounds more enjoyable to me than a Martin Scorsese movie. So, except for
um
Bringing Out the Dead, because Nick Cage is in that.
so yeah, that's like pretty much I think all I've watched recently.
What about you, Kit?
Let's see. Yesterday I watched Running Scared, which is dog shit, and I don't recommend. Uh, but then I followed it up with That Thing You Do, which I had never
Ooh,
seen and is delightful.
it is.
So I guess I'm a huge fucking idiot, and I thought the song That Thing You Do was just like a real song, and they just chose it for the movie, and not that it was written specifically for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So real dumb.
I haven't seen that movie, like, I think since it came out.
I haven't seen it in a while either, but me and Chris talk about it pretty often, actually, somehow.
It's good, but the main dude, I have only ever seen him in An American Werewolf in Paris. So that's all I could think about while watching it. So I watched An American Werewolf in Paris afterwards.
Nice. Nice, triple feature there.
I watched Avengers Endgame again.
Oh,
Because it's good. The last, like, hour and a half rules.
I don't think I've watched it. Oh, no, I did. I watched it one time after seeing it in the theater, but it's very emotional. There's just like some movies that I know are gonna make me upset, so I can't. I like have to really plan when I'm gonna watch them, and that's one of them.
That's me with Greasy Strangler.
Checks out.
We almost watched that actually, but
You
we
should.
watched That Irishman instead.
I watched
Kill the Irish.
the wrong Irishman instead.
Apparently, I didn't realize.
Caitlin and I went to the drive-in Thursday night and saw some really shitty movie called Infamous. that was essentially Natural Born Killers and like Spring Breakers mixed together. I guess it was terrible.
Awful. What an
It's
awful
it was like
combination.
about this couple that go out and like rob
Oh my
places and
god.
shit, but like she films it for like Instagram to
Bella
become like
Thorne.
popular. I don't know. It was real bad.
The poster looks so
It
terrible.
like there were like visual aesthetics that I was kind of like, okay, this is at least interesting, but just like I don't know, the acting was shitty and the story was dumb. But the second movie was Becky, which fucking rules. Everybody should watch Becky. I think it's streaming for renting or whatever. It's pretty awesome. You watch Kevin James, the big swastika tattooed on the back of his head.
Oh,
It's fucking, it's so good. I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We've been binging through Frasier because I've never seen it.
you know what I have been putting on to go to sleep is Third Rock from the Sun,
Yes.
and it's still very funny.
John Lithgow's so fucking good in it.
He is. And I'm on the last season now, which I don't like. I remember watching that show when it was actually on TV, but I definitely hadn't seen the whole thing, and I hadn't seen like the last two seasons probably, but it's still, yeah, it's still very funny. So,
He's so good as like agitated and like anxiety ridden characters.
yeah, he really is.
All right. So next week we're gonna continue with Ernest Dickerson movies and do Bones with Snoop
Yes.
Dogg. I believe this is a movie Katie hasn't seen.
I saw it in the theater.
What?
Yeah.
Amazing. This movie rules. I can't wait till we
I
watch
haven't
it.
seen it in a really long time though, so it'll be interesting.
It's still delightful.
Yeah, I watched it like maybe a month before moving. Again, it's great.
When it was on Shudder, I watched it like 4 times before it went away.
Bring it back. What the heck?
It's on Tubi now.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tubi,
Or
Shutter.
Yeah.
Tubes.
Shutter doesn't seem to want to sponsor us, so Tubi sponsor us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm excited. Because I've been meaning to rewatch it, like, but it's just one of them things.
I feel like it's a movie I end up watching like at least twice a year. It's like a good, especially like it's a good like kind of background movie once you've seen it once.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's streaming on Tubi. Go buy our shirts. Get you a sweet tie-dye shirt.
You guys, I have my tie-dye shirt. I posted a picture, and there's like literally no way to describe like how cool the colors look in person. Like, it's just, it blows my mind. I'm like, so I was like, I hadn't heard of Store Frontier before, so I wasn't really sure like what the quality was gonna be like, and I just am like so impressed. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're very nice.
Yeah, it seems like most of the people that ordered like originally got all their shit by now. Even the people like a bunch of people are starting to get their tie-dye ones, obviously. So I ordered one of the yellow ones. I can't wait to see.
It's like yellow and pink or something.
Yeah, it's gonna look so ridiculous with like the yellow fonts.
I know, I love it. I'm excited.
But yeah, you could get those at storefrontier.com/IHopeYouSuffer. Or if you just follow us on Twitter and Instagram, I have like a link tree in both the bios that you can click on. Leave us a rating and reviews on iTunes. Leave us a review of your favorite body count record. Follow us on Twitter at IHopeYouSuffer and Instagram at IHopeYouSuffer Podcast. You can listen to Kit's other podcast, Riff Raff, on Toilet of Hell Radio. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face on the things and commission Animal Crossing art from her.
Yeah.
You can listen to my other podcast named Cape Movie Club. I think we're finally gonna record another episode. Life has been stupid and busy.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna do Get Out, maybe. I'm not sure.
Hell
Caitlin
yeah.
hasn't seen Get Out yet, but our The first movie we ever went to see was Us, so I think we're gonna do Get Out and Us back to back.
Nice.
Yeah, watch Bones. Buy a shirt. We're donating money. We'll go to bail funds and shit, and you'll get a sweet shirt with tie-dye.
What more could you want?
Yeah. Could look cool going to your social distance beach parties this summer.
That's right.
Alright. I hope you suffer, but why?
Cop killer.
I don't have anything today.
Meat shake. Like something meat shake.
I have a
Reliable.
hangover.
Or,
Old reliable.
yeah, I was gonna say our boy meat shake has been brought up in a couple weeks, so
Can't neglect our first child.
yeah. I feel like our first child is science cum. And then
Ugh.
Oh my god, I forgot science come.
I think about it every time I do hashtags for Instagram because I think I was like, ours was obviously the very first thing to ever hashtag something science cum.
Well, on that note.